Hi, everybody. I'm Georgia Rose, your psychic astrologer. And today will be August 12th when you're watching this live on the Soul Space. Welcome to Zenkuda Soul Space. I am here every Monday night at 7 p.m. Usually I'm live from Strong Island Studios. And today we are pre-recording this because I have some events tomorrow. But boy, when I look at the astrology, this week is wild. So stay tuned for this week's update. I have to tell you, I've never seen a sky quite like this one. um, we've got a lot of energy and we're going to have a lot of changes this week. A lot of commotion is the only way I can describe it. And I don't like to be negative. Those of you who watch the show regularly know that this is a show where we really work on getting in touch with our own soul space and going into the spiritual wisdom of a much higher being, much higher force than ourselves. So I don't like to dwell on things that are going on in the 3D world. However, I do use astrology as a guide to help us understand what's coming and what the energy really feels like so we know how to use it as guidance in our life. So welcome aboard if you're watching for the first time. If you are and you want a private reading with me, or you're looking to get more information about what we discussed today on the show or other spiritual wisdom, astrology, tarot readings, all kinds of things, you can go on zenkuda.com or watch me on Zenkuda on YouTube. Also social media, Zenkuda Official on Instagram and Zenkuda Soul Space on Facebook. Thank you so much and welcome. So, as I said, this week is rare energy. We have so much going on that it would take me 3 hours to explain it all. But it's also a lot of energy of tension. Last week, I spoke about being in this irritability, this energy that's very irritable, because we have Mercury retrograde in the sign of Virgo, which is really an energy that conflicts our desires and what we want with what we're actually getting. So that can be a little difficult in this energy. And now this week, we get layer upon layer. So let me start right away by saying that we open up the week on August 12th with Mars really being aggressive. Mars is in a position where it is really active in the sky with Jupiter in Gemini. And this can be our words. It's really not a week this week to have those important conversations or do presentations that are career advancing or not, or have the conversation with a partner that either leads to a breakup or a breakthrough. All those really important things that we like to communicate. I would put them on hold for a few days, at least until after the full moon in Aquarius, which happens next Sunday, which is August 19th. We're going to have an energy between now and then, this whole next week, that's a buildup. It's almost like when I go into it intuitively, it almost feels like when you're sitting outside at a campfire and you're expecting to have this really beautiful evening and these really beautiful, kumbaya moments, and everyone's in a bad mood. And the fire just keeps getting bigger and bigger, and people keep throwing more logs on it, and the fire just keeps getting bigger and bigger. And you really went there to have a great time and have a really warm, fuzzy night around the fire, but suddenly the energy is out of control and is burning really hot, and people are just like getting all irritated and aggressive. And there's that point in the evening. It's like if there's alcohol involved, there's always that point in the evening where people start to speak their truth all over the place and it ends up in total chaos and conflict. Well, that's kind of the week we're having. So, as much as I don't like to talk about negativity and I don't want to put fear out there, because God knows the fear mongers are all over the internet, YouTube, TikTok, whatever. And I feel we can't control certain things. The cosmos are going to give us the energy. That's the energy, right? We can't control the energy. But what we can do is control the way that we react to it. So my advice this week is, before I delve into the deepness of it and exactly some days and dates for you, my advice this week would be lay low. Nothing needs to get done this week that can't wait a few days unless it's a life and death situation. If you do find yourself in a situation where you have to be participating in some kind of a conflict or not so positive situation, really try and keep yourself grounded. Some tips for that is you can, do some breath work before you have to go into that meeting or have that conversation or see that person. Maybe meditate for a few minutes. Nature is such a great antidote for this energy. I wouldn't go out in really big crowds, but in nature, if you can get up early in the morning and maybe take a walk along the shore wherever you are, or a lake or the forest, if that makes you feel better, if you like to be in the woods and the trees. But definitely nature will ground you, even though the energy in the world is very um, amplified and volatile right now. Grounding in nature would be really beautiful. If you have pets, spend time with your pets, in that beautiful energy of touch and feel and hugging and feeling that unconditional love. Do things that put you in a space of love and expand love in your life. If you can do that, you'll weather this week really fine. Don't get so caught up in all the external stuff that's going around, because this is really like, just churning energy, like a whirlpool type energy or a beehive type energy. And it will keep getting amplified as the week goes forward into that full moon in Aquarius on Sunday. So those are my tips. I intend to use this time to write and journal. There are some aspects going on in this energy that can be very, very healing. Also, a lot of things revealed as far as our own personal wounds go, as far as the things that we're keeping inside. The energy is really pent up. And in an energy like this week, you're going to see the release of a lot of pent up energy. So, my advice to you is go within. When you have your quiet moments, use those moments to go within and deal with your own stuff so that it's not spilling out all over everyone. And we're not into that projection and that really, sometimes can get almost aggressive to the point of violent, anger that's been repressed and things that have been repressed. So you really want to stay in your own, authority, your own agency. There's a lot of things going on in the zodiac right now that are conducive to us growing up. And what I mean by that is no matter what age you are in life, whenever we have any kind of childhood trauma or childhood pain or a wound that has happened to us in the formative years of our life, from the time we're born to the time we're young adults, things that happen suddenly or shocking things, abuse, maybe things that are really, completely just part of our universe and our karma. Maybe a parent passes away suddenly or something like that. And now we have a wound of abandonment or lacking, or we're in detriment, or, you know, uh, some kind of wound, some kind of our needs not being met, our essential needs, really not being fulfilled. And when we're in formative years and we have those things, a lot of times we just go about life. We go into survival mode, or we become really uber successful or uber wealthy or uber really good at one thing because we're repressing the unprocessed emotion. And this is an energy now, especially, and will stay with us until the end of this year, and especially when Pluto goes into Aquarius in November for the next 20 years. This is an energy that's really meant to make us grow up and out of those constructs, those things that have been restricting us that we're not even seeing, we're not even hearing. So it's a really great time to go within and try and really explore, where are the unseen wounds, the unheard things that happened to you? What happened when you were 7? What happened when you were a young adult that was so traumatic for you that you never got over it? And for some of us, it could seem like a very subtle thing. It could be, the day you had a fight in the schoolyard, but it stuck with you forever. The first time your parent, maybe hit you, or the first time you realized someone wasn't who you thought they were, and you were a child. It could be any of those, sometimes subtle and sometimes very aware, or an awareness of something either very subtle or something that was very significant and tragic. And so in this energy, Pluto works to reveal those things. And that's why you see a lot of people out in the world having what we call meltdowns, having these reactions to external forces because they're triggering them. And I know that's a very overused word now, but those triggers are there so that we find the treasure. It's like someone pokes you in the back and you turn around and then you see the person. That's what a trigger is. It's something that pokes you, so you have to see it. You're aware of it. You're like, oh, wow, that's there. And we're carrying these things. And Pluto, where it is in the zodiac right now, is really giving us the availability, the support, and also the discomfort to have to look at that and see it, right? When someone pokes you in the back and you have to turn around, at first it's uncomfortable, it's unknown, you don't know what's going to happen. But then when you look and you see the person, either you recognize them or you don't, you recognize them with a good memory or a not so good memory. That's what happens when we reveal our inner wound, our unprocessed emotion, our unprocessed anger or jealousy, sorry. And for some, that could even be unprocessed joy. Unprocessed goes right along with grief, you know. When we grieve someone, we also process all the joyful times that we've had with them. So, you know, you've maybe suppressed that. And maybe every time something joyful happens, you don't really feel it fully because you're expecting something bad to happen. All these things that are constructs that are restraining us will come forward in this energy. So the highest use of it for people who are in the soul space and looking to deepen their level of awareness and connection with the soul space and source of creation, that energy is there, this discomfort, this sudden shocking series of things, these things that are unexpected and we can't predict, they will happen to trigger focus in the back for something that we need to be like, oh, wow, that's there. Let me work with it. Let me feel it. Let me go within, go deep, penetrate it, Pluto, scorpionic energy, so that I can go to a place where now it's no longer restraining, restricting, and a construct that's framing me and keeping me bound, Saturn, to a tradition, a comfort, something I've been told, right? A construct of some kind. And so that's the energy in the best use. But what will happen, because this energy is so much conflict and brings so much to the surface, and the world is so changeable, and we are in a lot of global chaos, what will happen is then you have other people who aren't brave enough or just aren't ready yet to go into that soul space of unprocessed emotion, of dealing with the things that have happened to all of us. We've all had tragedy and trauma and all kinds of things, but it's how you deal with it that creates your life. The choice you make to work with it or work against it or repress it so that you're really unhappy and you don't know why. That's all choices that we make in our life. So be present in your daily life, see what comes up, try not to be around that other energy, which is as the chaos comes up, as the conflict comes up, as we have these very rare combustible energies all at the same time, there's a whole contingent of humans that just can't deal with it and they'll get more angry or they'll repress even more. And it's almost like some of the things you see on the internet, which are so really depraved and tragic, where people will commit horrific, egregious things, depraved things, and they almost have no emotion for them because they're so repressed and they're so detached from the self and the soul space that they don't know what they're doing is that egregious or depraved, you know? And that's the energy that we've gone into, this polarization of people who are really seeking and looking for things like astrology and soulful wisdom and modalities for healing because they're able to go into those unprocessed energies within themselves and they want to know themselves better. They want to study themselves in order to have a greater life and live their life in a much more benefic way, and be able to really have a life well used. And then there's another contingent of humanity who just can't do that. They're frightened, they're fearful, they're in tremendous pain, and they think going within and studying themselves and really being in a place of self-mastery is too risky for them. And so when things happen externally, it brings out the cynic, it brings out the narcissist, it brings out the person who's so detached that anything can happen. And so that's the polarization now. It's got nothing to do with whether you're a Democrat or Republic, black or white, um, Muslim or Catholic. It's got nothing to do with that. It's really much more primitive and yet much more deep and much more basic in our human arc of development. And so now bringing this back to today and the music or the cosmology or the energy that we have now in the air, right? It's almost like octaves of music, like we're hearing it. But there's a whole polarity of humans, a whole consensus of humans who's hearing it a certain way and seeing the beauty within it because we're not afraid to look at something repulsive and see the polarity of, well, that had to happen to bring us to the beauty of compassion and soulfulness. There's people who see it that way and hear that music. And then there's people who hear the music of this world's hateful and horrible and destructive, and that's disgusting. And how did we ever get here? And we need to bring things back to where it used to be. Well, things are never going back the way it used to be. As long as I've been breathing and through many, many lifetimes, my soul has never witnessed the world go backwards, the universe go back in time. Yes, we have nostalgia, and yes, we have retrogrades, but I've never seen the future not happen. So it's happening. So the only way for us to cope with it and integrate it is to really go within and feel it and say, why has my soul been incarnated, been born to experience this energy? I know it's not to punish me or to make me feel less worthy or confused. Maybe it makes me feel those things for a while until I connect and have the clarity I'm seeking. But I know it's not to harm me, it's to care for me, but I have to work with it in that way. So that's the polarity we're seeing. So why is this all happening and what to watch out for? So Monday, the energy starts to build. We've got Mars, action, aggression, speeding everything up. Mars in Gemini is in an air sign right now, and you've got Jupiter expanding it. And that's why it seems like every day, I know for me, especially lately, there's a lot of things happening with my three-dimensional earthbound life, the industry that I survive with and make a living with, mostly still in the three-dimensional world. I'm a real estate broker. A lot of things are changing in our industry. I also train real estate agents and salespeople and management. And so for me, this energy has been like every day I get shot out of a cannon and have to fill 29 hours worth of stuff in a 24-hour day. And I think a lot of us are experiencing that energy. It's because Mars, which is our action, our orientation, the way we act, our ability to be assertive or aggressive, that is being expanded by Jupiter. Both are together in Gemini, which is an air sign. So it's making things like windy and blowing and moving very rapidly. We have Saturn at the last degrees of Pisces going retrograde. We have Venus in Virgo, which I talked about on last week's show. Venus in Virgo is a very, very annoying energy. Venus in Virgo is also there with Mercury retrograde. So that's the things we desire, the things we want, the things that are important to us. Venus and Mercury, our mercurial minds are the way we strategize to get those things we want and desire and love and matter to us. Those are in a sign now, which is very critical, very, not always complimentary. How is your self-talk? Venus and Mercury, when they're both in Virgo together, will talk us out of doing things. Oh, you really don't want that. Oh, you're not capable of that. But I want it. No, you can't have it. So it's a restricting feeling. So we've got Mars speeding everything up, Jupiter amplifying everything, Venus and Mercury in Virgo saying, I want it, but no, you can't have it. So it's all this really like energy, right? Right? We turn into these cynical people like, I don't even want to get out of bed today. I hate people, right? That's how annoying the energy is. So the 14th, that transit of Mercury retrograde and Mars conjunct Jupiter, that really comes together. Mars in Gemini is going to be there till the 4th of September. That energy is going to be really expanded by Jupiter. So expect things to speed up even more so. Everything's going to move at a very rapid pace. I'm talking really rapidly right now, just to make things happen until about, I would say, the 4th of September. So now we start to get an energy build Monday into Tuesday. And what happens is Saturn opposes Venus. Saturn is 17 Pisces, Venus at 17 Virgo. This is really frustrating. Saturn puts more limits on that Venus energy, which is the things that we want, we desire. No, I want it. I have to have it. I love it. Now Saturn comes in to put the fence around that. Well, you can love it, but you're only going to get this much of it. So that is the frustration building. It's desire versus want. It's desire versus the want and not getting what we want. It's this frustration that creates a need to react. Don't react. All right. So Monday, Tuesday, you're going to see a lot of reaction based on frustration, because those planets are coming together. And I'm going to share a chart with you guys really, really quickly, just to show you a little bit about how the week begins. So the week begins, we've got the moon, as you can see up here in Sagittarius at 17 degrees. That moon is going to move forward into Aquarius when it's full come next Sunday. But right now it's here at 17 degrees Sagittarius. It is squaring Saturn, which means that this is about our emotions being limited. That's why we're going to want to react, because we also have this energy here in Virgo of Mercury and Venus, okay, which is now having a trine to Neptune, making us a little bit confused. What is the truth? But see, the Sag moon says it's all about the truth. And it's it's opposing Jupiter and Mars, which is the energy I just told you is speeding things up, amplifying things, our action, our activity. So this is like, we want the truth. We want it, we want it, we want it. Saturn is restricting it, saying, well, you're not going to get all of it yet, but by the end of the week, we will. And what happens is with Neptune also in Pisces, it's creating more static. This Mercury, I'm sorry, trining Pluto here. I'm sorry, not Neptune. Neptune is and Saturn are creating this energy of confusion. But Pluto here in this aspect to Mercury, this is bring out what I was talking about before. Our minds start to go places they don't usually go, looking for the revelation, looking for the deepness, looking for, wow, what's really bothering me? Because we've got all this frustration and irritating energy. And that's why people are going to start to act out and react. Because, like I said before, if you're not deep enough to really sit for a moment and say, okay, why am I really this frustrated? What's really happening here? Then you just react and act out. So, this Jupiter expansion and Mars, that energy of aggression, the god of war here, making an aspect to that Pluto, which is bringing up the dirt. It's like a dust storm. And then now reacts to this Mercury, which is our minds, right? In Virgo, which is critical. You know, it's the Virgo is the, but it's not big enough, but it's too small. But oh, I really didn't want to go there. So in this energy anyway, Virgo also is a beautiful energy of really being able to do the task and staying power. Virgo is also energy that we put out into the world. So as you can see, this whole configuration is a buildup. This isn't even what is happening during the full moon. So we build up to all this. Here's Saturn talking to the moon in Sagittarius. Sagittarius moon wants the truth. Saturn saying, well, you're not going to get it yet. Pluto, deep transformation in Aquarius, which is future, change, taking our structures and crumbling them so that we have to make new structures, having a conversation with Mercury, our minds, in Virgo, hypercritical. Jupiter expanding this truth of the full moon, which is talking to that Saturn saying you're not going to get it yet. And then Saturn is also talking to Mars, which is action, reaction, aggression, god of war. So can you see how this frustration really builds? And this goes into the 14th, the 15th, the 16th. And what all this energy is it's discordance. It's the discord that's been in play since May, and it'll be in play until June of 2025. The thing that causes this major tension is all of these planets together. And this is a very rare sky. We never have this much energy. All the red and yellow lines are energy of tension. The green lines and blue lines in the zodiac are usually more harmonic energy, but because it's Pluto, Pluto is very rarely harmonic. It does want to heal us, but it does so by dredging up the dirt that we have to reveal it and see what's real. So this energy keeps playing up. So the beginning part of the week, Monday to Wednesday into Thursday, don't rush. Take your time. If you have to go anywhere, be very, very careful. Don't tailgate. Leave yourself room if you're on public transit. Really have situational awareness wherever you go, because this is a very changeable weather. And not only can it actually create storms and weather patterns, but it can also create accidents. It's very, more of a risk. It's a risky energy. So wherever you have to go, you'll be fine as long as you take your time and you're aware. It's not the time to make impulsive or rapid or moves without thinking. So be very methodical, be very aware, be very present, because the energy is very, very amplified for that right now. This is troublesome. It makes it very hard to deal with emotions and stress. So I would avoid any emotional stress that you can this week. Maybe you need to not go out socially too much, or maybe you need to invite people into your home and just have a smaller group or whatever it might be. But this is definitely energy that will bring up the depth of people, bring up things that are revealed, it's turning points and in the big picture of things, but it's also going to play out in our personal lives. The other thing this energy can bring is earthquakes, seismic events, because Pluto wants to bring things out from under, revealing things out from the depth. Like I said last week, this is, someone's under the table and you don't realize they're there, and all of a sudden they jump out at you, and you're like, oh my God, I got to deal with this person. It's like I say, a turning point in the big picture. So I'm going to show you how this energy builds and builds and then where we're at. This energy can be used in a good way, like I said in the beginning of this podcast. if you can go within and use the energy to heal, use the energy to really look at what you need to look at to bring your life to the next level. I didn't uncap my water. That's funny. So I just want people to hear what I'm saying because it's so important for us to really be aware in this energy of how we can utilize it to bring our lives forward in a better way. It may be uncomfortable and it may be a tough week, but there's better energy coming because we're going to resolve a lot of things because Chiron's also in play, which is beautiful energy for healing. So yes, it's major tension, but it can be controlled in a good way if you want to use it for that. I'm just looking at my notes because so much was going on this week. I had to have notes. So then when we go into like today, for instance, I'm recording this on Sunday before you guys will be seeing the podcast. This is the moon square Scorpio. So if you look square Pluto. So if you look at that energy, it's really an energy that wants us to do our work. You know, Saturn is involved here. Saturn wants us to look at the restrictions in our life to break away from them. Uranus in there is the planet that's just going to decentralize and break everything away. So told you all about that energy. There's a yod in that energy also that you just saw in the chart. A yod is almost like a triangle, but it's like a very like an isosceles triangle. I know I'm watching my algebra. I'll show the chart again. Oop. Whoops. Do. So this red is a yod. And so that yod is making the energy like the hammer. Like this part here is the hammer. So the moon and Pluto are really trying to hammer something home, literally. Like, look over here because we need you to finally move this energy and work with this energy. So things really start to amp up around Monday, and then they amp up even more by Wednesday. Now, Wednesday, I feel, is one of the most critical days in this week, the 14th. That is the day when this energy is really, really, really super heightened. It's also not lost on me that we're having a Democratic convention during this energy. And some of the transits that we have now, especially Mercury is going to square Uranus again, that was the energy that was actually exact the day of the crowdsourcing internet gap, when the internet went out, and also the energy of when Joe Biden stepped down from the nomination. So there's a lot of things in play now that will repeat that energy, that theme, and expand on it in some way. Maybe we hear more about those things. Something is revealed in regards to those things. Make sure you definitely back up your computers, back up all your stuff, because you are absolutely going to find the internet to be very wonky in this energy. So we have Mars and Jupiter moving towards Saturn, a square with Saturn. And that's when things really start to amp up. The frustration really starts to get out of control. People are going to be pushing boundaries, and the people that they push boundaries with are going to want to like push back. That's the energy, and that's why I say stay out of it. Be your own little island in this. Venus also is doing a half square to Chiron, which is all that energy of wanting to be we want to be nice, but we get offended. We really have good intentions here, but when someone pushes our boundaries, we just can't be Mrs. Nice Guy. That's the energy of this week, and it just keeps building and building until finally things really get out of hand towards the middle of the week, and then we have an energy that comes in with this full moon. And these are power struggles. This is air, you know, Mars and Jupiter are in Gemini. It's air, it's uncontrollable, it's all over the place, it's blowing things in every direction. Jupiter is just pumping up the energy, while Mars is in conflict with Pluto that wants to bring it up from the deep, briny depths. Communication can be in conflict, words. This is that Sagittarian moon looking for the truth at the beginning of the week. And then we start to have that full moon come into Aquarius, which breaks the energy up. It's ruled by Uranus. Uranus starts getting into the picture, and then we go into the full moon. So this is an energy of truth to do with laws and situations, constrictions, things that you thought were a certain way are not that way. You're going to have a lot of illusions dispersed, a lot of energy, you know, just like building, and then there's more. I know it seems like a lot, but then there's more, because what happens is I'm going to show you the chart for the full moon. So this is the chart for the full moon. And during the full moon, where the moon is at 27 degrees of Aquarius, it's opposing the sun and Mercury, which retrograded back into Leo. Okay. So Mercury is retrograding into a different sign this week on top of everything else. So the sun and Mercury here in Leo, which is ruled by the sun, are together in what we call an almost exact conjunction. That's what we call cazimi. It means that the sun and Mercury are coming together. They're combustible. So our minds and our our soulful energy, our purpose are coming together. This is an energy like we mean business. Mercury and the sun cazimi can be very combustible. It can be idealism. It can be fanatical ideas. And now it's opposing a full moon in Aquarius, which is the breaking up of old energy, futuristic energy. It is ruled by Uranus, which is the great awakener. So you're going to have a lot of truth coming in here because also Jupiter is right next to Mars, which I've been saying throughout this whole podcast. And now this is in contact with that energy of Venus, right? Not getting what we want right now because it's in Virgo. And it's also in a square configuration to Saturn, which is more limitation. But then we have Uranus here, which is the great awakener, ruling the full moon, right? Because the full moon is in Aquarius. Aquarius is ruled by Uranus. Uranus is sudden, unexpected, shocking events that happen to make great change, the awakener. And it's speaking to the sun and Mercury cazimi, right? Combustible, who is also speaking to the moon in Aquarius, which is ruled by Uranus, which is the sudden shocking event. So this is a huge, huge fire trine. Okay, huge trine. I'm sorry, not a fire trine, a huge trine. This here, okay, we've got Saturn in Pisces speaking to Venus in Virgo, which is also speaking to the Mars and Jupiter configuration, amplifying that energy of I want it, but you can't have it. I want it, but you can't have it. You don't know all the information yet. And this is all on the heels of the full moon and all in still the other energy that we were talking about in that other chart, all in play as well. So this is one of the most combustible weeks, one of the most combustible and aggressive weeks I have ever seen in the zodiac. I'm going to try to do more videos about it, maybe give you little short updates during the week. This is incredibly dynamic energy. It's intense, the amount of stuff that's going on in the zodiac. This is not a time to start anything new or anything that can be conflicting. It's not a time to have those heavy conversations with anybody. It is a time when the sun and Leo will be trining Chiron and Aries, and that is an energy of illumination. It's a free-flowing energy. It could bring healing, especially when that Sagittarius moon beginning of the week helps us to identify truth. So there's incredible, incredible energy for healing here and really, being in an energy of bringing our lives to a beautiful new awakening. However, it might not be comfortable. There's a lot of energy that's out there in the world that is going to be volatile. Please, please practice self-care. Please, if you don't have to make the trip, stay closer to home. If you don't have to, have the serious conversation or be in front of a tremendous amount of people, then put it off for a few days or a week. Certainly am not stepping into fear. This is not a fearful time. It's an aware time. It's time to be really, really aware. How can I use my life well? How can I be of service to the world and still maintain my own integrity for love and in the expansion of love in my life? That's really what this is about. And as we grow our soul space, that's really where we want to stay. So thank you so much for tuning in. I hope to see you here next Monday night at 7 o'clock to hear all of your stories about how you use the energy for this week. And I also look forward to seeing you on social media. So Zancuda Soul Space on Facebook, Zancuda Official on Instagram, and of course, my YouTube channel, Zancuda, where you'll find some shorts about the energy of this week. Thanks so much, guys. Stay cool, stay calm, be present, and don't forget to do your spiritual rituals. Take a walk in nature, meditate, do your yoga, whatever really makes you feel in your beautiful soul space. Thanks so much. I am Georgia Rose, and if you want a private reading, you can book that on zencuda.com. See you guys.